I read 12 books from the big two last week. DC KO'd my wallet, but Marvel was not an entire bust. Let's talk about the big two. Howdy, howdy, American Texan here, and I love comic books, specifically talking about the stories and the art that is inside this very fun, very classic medium. Other channels will talk about the drama and the stupid things that people say. We're going to focus on the stories and what's inside the pages. Specifically on this episode, we're going to talk about the big two releases for January 28th. I've got 4 Marvel books, which is pretty big for my pull list, and 8 DC books. Quite a few of them are related to DCKO, and the absolute titles, every one of them, I'm subscribed to 3, all came out this week. So let's go over to the table and let's talk about big two, and we have an update, something else I'm adding to the giveaway for when we hit 100 subscribers. So by all means, like this video. If you like this video, whenever I say something that you like, hit the like button. If I say something you don't like, hit the dislike button, but hit it twice. That way I really know that you did not like it. But anyways, let's go over to the table and let's talk big two. All right, so let's get into all the books I read, starting with Marvel. And I've got a good 4 books that I read this week, starting with the big one, Iron Man #1, Joshua Williamson writing this new one. This is being illustrated by someone that did actually a very good job, I think, Carmen Carnero. Now, I don't know anything about her. I'm assuming it's a her. And I thought it was a really good introduction to the character. The art is great. It is very MCU-ish. And I see a lot of people talk about how that this is not comic book Tony Stark, and I kind of agree. But you know what? If you've been reading Iron Man since about 2012, which is when I started reading, it's kind of always been RDJ Iron Man. Maybe there's been some ways that some people, like the last run, I can't remember the name of the writer, that try to make it their own spin, but it really just comes out of RDJ's Iron Man. Now, the art here is great, and we get a little bit of not a false intro or a fake out, but we get an intro that seems like it's retelling the origin story, but you find out it's actually someone else going through a similar origin story to Tony Stark. We get an introduction here of just, I don't know what you call this in comics. This is the trope where, like, we got to start with an action scene because it's a comic book. And look, I'm all for that. So we get a really good action scene before we go into a little bit of an Iron Man 2-ish type of event where Tony Stark takes the stage and he has to make an award and he doesn't really know what's going on because he's too arrogant. He doesn't remember some decisions he made in the past. Overall, though, while a lot of people that I follow online are cool on it, I'm pretty warm on it. I'm not going to say I'm like super hot on it, but I do think it was a good start. I compare this, and again, this is going to tell you the kind of people that I listen to, or maybe the kind of person that I am. I liken this issue #1 to The Force Awakens, to where it's not really anything new. It's kind of repeating some tropes or some stories or some actions from the past. It's an echo of what's come before, kind of like The Force Awakens. Some people say, I don't agree with it. Some people say it's a shot-for-shot remake of A New Hope. I don't think it's a shot-for-shot remake, but I do think it echoes back to a lot of the story beats that A New Hope had. I think Iron Man #1 by Williamson does the same thing. It echoes back to stories that we're familiar with, situations that Iron Man's been in. And let me tell you what, after over a decade maybe, of trying to do different things with Iron Man, I'm kind of okay to have a Force Awakens moment and go back to something that we're familiar with. Even if it is a little bit of an echo or a repeat, I'm okay with that. So Iron Man, it's not exactly everything I wanted it to be, but it's better than what I've read in the last decade. It's only one issue though, so, take it what you will. Then we got the Punisher Red Band #5. I got to be careful opening this because of all the action and gore and everything, but just amazing art. I am absolutely loving this. Is by Benjamin Percy, and I can never remember his first name. Julius Ota. Absolutely gorgeous here. I love the car chase here, the scene. And then we get some really great action and Kingpin being Kingpin and Castle being Castle. Just a lot of fun. This cop lady here, I don't think she's a bad character, but I feel like the actions that were taken in the panels or the pages that she's in, I don't think they were exactly written well. I think she was kind of given a little bit of plot armor, a little bit too much plot armor in the situations that she found herself in. And then Castle didn't exactly act like himself around her either. But overall, man, this was such a fantastic issue. That's my one little nitpick. Tombstone was horrifying. Kingpin was intimidating. Castle was just like living that power fantasy. Just absolutely amazing. Great ending here. loved the Punisher Red Band, and I'm looking forward to the new ongoing starting next month, or I guess this month in February. Then we're going on to Marvel Zombies Red Band number 5. It ended well enough, and that's kind of my whole review. It ended well enough. The art, I think, just tried to be a little too goopy and gory, and like not even B-movie gory, just like C-movie. They're just using old cans of tomato soup out of their mom's pantry type of gory. Spider-Man is kind of the main hero of this series, and he enlists some help from others. Ultron comes in here, and I guess the other thing that I kind of missed on this, oh, by the way, this is by Ethan S. Parker and Griffin Sheridan, art by Jan Bazaldua. Boy, you're just going to hear me butcher a bunch of names on this show. This one is a callback to King in Black, I guess. So every issue, you had the Fantastic Four, then you had Civil War and the Infinity Gauntlet, and one more, I can't remember, Battle World. And so now we're hailing back to Zombies, King in Black. I did not read the King in Black, so I don't know all the callbacks and mentions and homages that they're making here. But overall, it was fine. I'm interested to see what else happens in this Marvel Zombies universe, but if they don't write anything else with this, I'm not going to be missing much. So overall, I think it'll read great as a trade. I don't know if I'm glad I read it, but I'm not upset that I read it. Does that make sense? That's my review. And then lastly, we got Infernal Hulk. This is one, when I heard it was going to be centered all around Bruce Banner, I thought, oh boy, this is going to be a boring one. Because right now, Bruce Banner and the Hulk are kind of split. They're split up. This one is by Philip Kennedy Johnson and Kev Walker and Nick Klein. And this is mostly a Kev Walker book because it is all around Bruce, and Walker is illustrating the Bruce and Betsy stuff. Is it Betsy or Betty? Betsy. And it's this everyday life. And I thought this was going to be kind of boring, but you know what? Philip Kennedy Johnson really brings in a lot of emotion. And you get these random horror panels of like day in the life stuff. The Infernal Hulk is on TV. She's kind of petrified, and then she kind of digs into herself, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then it kind of goes back to normal. So it's like these little weird flashes of horror, and it works really well. And there's a combination of PTSD and longing for power that she used to have. I relate to that. There was a time when we were making good money with the business, and then there's times when you're not, and you kind of link back and like, I had all this ability and mobility and power, and now I don't, and you kind of miss it. And even though you're better off now, technically on paper, you still kind of miss it. And so again, more of that horror panel, like, I mean, it was deep. It was deeper than I thought it would be. Expected it to be, and a lot of heart in this one as well. So kudos to Walker and Philip Kennedy Johnson for turning this everyday life stuff into something that I actually really enjoyed. So Infernal Hulk was amazing. So even though I only read 4 books, top 3 Marvels, definitely these 3: Iron Man, Punisher, and Infernal Hulk number 3. Going into DC, we've got 8 books here that I read this past week. Like I said, DC KO'd my wallet, but we got 4 KO tie-ins. We've got 3 absolute titles and then 1 ongoing that I've been reading. So let's take a look at this and let's talk about DCKO, The Flash. This is number 29, written by Mark Waid, Christopher Cantwell, and illustrated by Georgiev, I think it is. Vasco Georgiev. First of all, I absolutely love, I cannot stress this enough. I'm the kind of reader that needs the recap on the first page. However, Marvel is the only company that does it consistently. However, Mark Waid has been doing this thing here where he spends the first page with art doing that recap. And so we get a recap of where Wally West is in this situation, what the grandson is doing and Impulse is doing in this situation, why Iris is in this situation, but doesn't know exactly what's going on, all the timey-wimey stuff. I 100% support that. I love the fact that we take a whole page with art in the paneling to give me that recap rather than a paragraph that just sits on a page. I cannot stress how much I am loving that. And it's in a few books, but I'm really loving it here in The Flash. So we've got Darkseid's Legion trying to do some timey-wimey stuff and mess with Barry Allen's origin story, which should destroy the Speed Force, and then the Darkseid Force, whatever it's called, will take reign. This one pulled me back in. I was getting a little lost because I don't know a whole lot about the Flash family, but this one explained it well enough. We finally get like a climactic event of trying to impede on the Speed Force creation. And it was really well done. Got me to really care about the characters again. And so now I think we got one more issue. I love that little scene there. I love that panel there. That's a great panel there. So really good art in this, a lot of great coloring. And yeah, it brought me back. I was kind of cool on it, but now I'm warmed back up on it. Superman, number 34. This one is by Joshua Williamson. And this one is illustrated by Eddie Burrows and Eber Ferreira. This was a lot of fun, but still also kind of a lot of confusing. And again, it's because I'm not primarily a DC reader. I know I got a lot of DC books. Most of my pool is DC, but I've only been reading DC for about a year and a half now. So I'm still learning all the characters. A lot of my knowledge is from the animated shows and of course the movies, which are not everything that's happening in the comics. But there's so many storylines here. You got Lois and Prime, and I'm somewhat familiar of how Prime got into here. And then you got the robot Supermans. Then you got everything going on in KO. Let's see here. I think the art's great on this. I love this big old splash panel. Then you got the Dark Side Legion kind of getting in their way in the heart of Apocalypse. They show some cracks in the armor, and you get this little timey-wimey panel here. This actually makes me interested in the Legion, because they talk about how like Superman helped create the Legion, but the Legion was created because of Superman. So it's kind of that timey-wimey closed circle. I love closed circle time travel. So I think that was all very interesting. And then you got Superboy being, Superboy basically, and talking about crossovers and events and all that stuff. And we got one issue left. I don't know who this Royal Flush game seems like, what do you call him, a jobber? But it did the story well enough. There's just a lot of things going on here that I'm just barely holding on to. But overall, I was pretty warm on it. And when I read it a second time, I think I understood it a lot better. But we end up very bleak in a very bleak situation. And yeah, it's kind of up to Superman Prime, Superboy Prime, to finish the job here. So overall, though, I think it's very enjoyable. Justice League Unlimited, the tie-in as far as the Terrific 10, I'm super cool on this one. This one's written by Mark Waid and illustrated by Dan Mora. If it didn't have Mora on art, I would be much more cool on it. But this is Justice League Unlimited number 15. And again, a lot of characters I'm not too familiar with. We've got basically the Terrific 10 down to the Terrific 6. Glad to see Airwave coming back. I kind of liked his little arc in the first storyline of this series. But we've got a battle on two fronts, essentially. You got the battle on the surface and then the battle in Hell. And Hell is slowly picking off the remaining of the Terrific 10 one by one. They also bring in this, I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say it's like a Costa Rican squad here. They said it's somewhere in here. I can't remember where it was. But anyways, they're from somewhere. Yeah, it was a Costa Rican squad. I don't know who these characters are. They seem pretty cool, but again, I just don't have a connection to them or really understand what their powers are. Just on this limited paneling here, these couple pages, it was a fine fight. Again, really elevated by Dan Mora. And then the health scenes were really good, but just the fact that we got these two different storylines going on simultaneously just kind of took away from the book. But overall, still really well illustrated. This is one that I'm kind of like, it's fine. I would not pull this just for the tie-in, but I am already pulling Justice League Unlimited, so it's not too terrible of a time waster there. I had such high hopes for this, but this one really let me down. Jeremy Adams writing and Mercer illustrating. Let's see here. You get the full name, Travis Mercer illustrating. And I just don't know who all these characters are. I thought it's interesting, but it reminds me a lot of trying to read Marvel Infinity. It's a bunch of C-line characters that are probably written for a generation 2 times removed from me, and I just don't get it. Quiz Boy is fine. Fair Play is fine. Jenny Flash, I don't know exactly who she is. And then you got this other girl, I can't remember her name. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, it didn't seem to resonate with me. The John Kent stuff was okay. I'm not a huge John Kent guy. So overall, just a bunch of characters that I just don't have a connection with or care for or have really, Cheshire Cat, that's her name, really had anything about. Like, I don't know, it just didn't resonate with me. The dialogue didn't keep up with me. Overall, just the kind of and then storytelling. We did get an appearance by a character. I won't spoil that if you haven't read it. But overall, just a lot of just happening things. And I don't know, it just didn't resonate with me. I wish I had more to say, but again, I don't know. It had a fine ending, I guess, with the John Kent stuff. But overall, I had higher hopes, higher expectations, and I was just kind of let down. So the Kids Are All Fight, it was just kind of meh. All right, on to the absolute titles, starting with Absolute Batman, number 16, written by Snyder, illustrated by Nick Dragotta, and this was a lot of fun. I liked the crossover, but I will tell you this, I liked Wonder Woman's crossover better. I thought the dialogue was much more witty, a lot more organic, a lot more entertaining. The dialogue between Bruce and Wonder Woman here, I don't know, it didn't seem to capture a lot of Wonder Woman's essence, or at least absolute Wonder Woman's essence. Here, she was very matter of fact. She didn't have that playful innocence like Kelly Thompson writes with her. But overall, not comparing the two, this was still very good. It was very well illustrated. Batman just kind of seems to roll with the punches. He's like, hey, we're in Hades right now? And she's like, yeah. And he goes to sleep and has his little dream there. Now, I'll tell you what, this really punched me in the gut here. I'm just going to show a little bit of it, and then I'm going to close it because I don't want to spoil it for you. But there's a moment here where Bruce has a little bit of closure with his dead father through a vision or through something, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Again, I read this in the car at the comic book. I read this in the car in the parking lot of the comic book shop. Totally caught me by surprise, and I had to take a breather because I was like, man, that was really well done. I hope I can be a dad like that. Like, just really good stuff. But then we end it with this great action scene. I could have used another page or two of this, but Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman fighting this centaur creature was a blast. This was really cool. I really enjoyed it. This was definitely a great read. Absolute Batman just does not miss right now. And I don't like it when people say this is always the best ever. It's not always the best ever, but man, every issue is an absolute blast to read. And then we've got Absolute Wonder Woman, number 16. This one is by Kelly Thompson, illustrated by Hayden Sherman. And again, beautiful paneling here. Some great flashbacks to Diana being raised in hell and kind of forming her morality and her beliefs and values. And so this was all really well. The only thing I didn't care for was this page here. Where we've got, what's his name, in some kind of courtroom scene. Trevor, there you go, Trevor. And I don't know, it just kind of seemed random and kind of like, oh, I'm on Wonder Woman's side. Like, okay, like, I don't know, just felt like it took me out of the story. Going back into it, we get some dynamics between Absolute Wonder Woman, Diana, living out in the real world. She stands tall and towers over everyone. I thought that was humorous, but she wears it well. And then we get some things happening where there's some more flashback, and then Zatanna enters the fray. And, you know, it was fine. I think a lot of people are taking it in a way too sexual of a manner, Zatanna, and trying to flirt with Absolute Wonder Woman. I don't think that's the case. I think she's just being playful. And then we get the Absolute Suicide Squad. I think this is interesting that they made them like almost like, was it A-Force in Marvel, or is an all-women team? It might have been the all-Canadian team. But I thought this was interesting, but I think she's being playful with her. I don't think she's trying to be flirty with her, but a lot of people are taking it too far, but hey, that's what the internet does. But of course, my favorite part of Hayden Sherman is the way that he draws the eyes. Love Wonder Woman's eyes there. You can see just kind of how she's feeling throughout all the panels. Just really, really well. Hasn't been my favorite start for an arc for Absolute Wonder Woman, but still very enjoyable. Two more books here. Let's talk about Absolute Martian Manhunter. And look, I feel like I have to say this all the time. I'm not a Dennis Camp fan. Most things that Dennis Camp writes, I cannot stand. I do not like it. The only thing that I'm going to consider trying that's not Absolute Martian Manhunter from Dennis Camp is Assorted Crisis Events number 8, specifically because it's on newsprint and it's supposed to be like an ode to comics. Sold out, so I haven't read it yet, so I'm going to get the second print from my shop. But that said, Absolute Martian Manhunter. I tried it just because I got all the Absolute number ones. This one I am super enjoying. And yes, people will say, well, it's not really Dennis Camp. It's Jorge Rodriguez, or what's his name? Something Rodriguez. And hey, maybe, but sometimes, you know, a Reese's cup isn't good just because of the peanut butter, and it's not good just because of the chocolate. It's good because of the combination of the two. So I am absolutely enjoying. I don't know where the title page is here on this. Those are previews in the back. Here we go. Javier Rodriguez. I wanted to get that first name right. It is absolutely a combination of the two. But let me tell you, all this great art without some of Dennis Camp's funny, antic writing, it wouldn't work as well. And Dennis Camp's funny, antic writing works really well with this art behind it. So I like this. I like it a lot. I don't want to sit there and just eat chocolate chips. I don't want to sit there and just eat spoonfuls of peanut butter. But you put the two together in a Reese's cup, I'm all for it. And that's exactly what this is. So this starts out with some really interesting coloring and illustrations here. And again, This is kind of Dennis Camp being Dennis Camp. He's talking about, how chicken tenders are, what do you call them? Abusive or, not moral or whatever, but he's not sitting here preaching it. He's doing it in a way that I think is funny. It plays with the context. It plays with the medium. And maybe he's trying to preach a message, but he does it in a way that's not preachy. So I really, really enjoyed that. He does it again later on, but it's still very entertaining. And so we got the absolute Martian Manhunter and John kind of split up for the night. And they go their own separate ways. So the Martian is kind of hanging out with different people around town, and John goes home to try to mend or fix his relationship with his wife. I really do appreciate that. And here's where we get to more Dennis Camp's funny antics. So something shows up in red, white, and blue, and it's like, hey, freeze. And it says, this is totally not a gun, but it's like a metaphor for a gun. I think that's funny. I think that's playful. And he basically this character threatens the Martian, and they get in a gunfight, so to speak. And it's like, reminder, this is not a gun. And then he talks about how guns are dangerous and powerful and destroy. They protect and destroy. They're contradictions. And maybe it's a commentary on gun control, but he never comes out and says like, guns are bad and we're terrible people because we use these guns. It's the worst line is like, this gun has killed more people than cholera. I don't know if that's true or not, but that doesn't sound right. But anyways, I think it's really funny. I think it's clever. This metaphorical gunfight, I thought it was a lot of fun. And then you get some really cool kind of scenes here. So I don't know if the Martian Manhunter has, tendrils in the government, or if there's multiple white Martians. You get to, again, I love this playing with the medium. You have to draw around, a line around the Martian. I love that. I love what he's doing here. So I am super enjoying this. And yeah, it is a comic kind of like the Power Fantasy. You have to read it twice to get all the little odds and ends and figure out what things are. Like, for example, this first scene here, this is not lightning. This is the crack along the wall in John's hotel. That's a callback from last issue. So, I mean, you do have to kind of read it twice sometimes if you're like me and you kind of don't get everything on the first read. But overall, I am super enjoying this. And if you're not, that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I still agree. This comic is overhyped, but I'm still super enjoying it. Last DC book, and then we'll finally wrap it up, is Green Lantern number 31. Again, something that I really wanted to enjoy because it's from Jeremy Adams, art by Montos. One name. Awesome. I love this panel here. Now, the art is different. This is a guest artist, I'm assuming, for this issue. And we get Hal Jordan visiting Barry Allen, who apparently has lost his powers. I didn't know that. And Hal Jordan has to rescue Barry and help him get some evidence to jail. Some of the stuff for the timing of everything doesn't work out. Like, he's on his way to witness protection, I think, but his trial is in 2 hours, but he doesn't have the evidence. That doesn't make any sense, right? Like, he should have turned the evidence in. It should not be at his house. He shouldn't be on his way to witness protection before the trial. Just kind of didn't make sense. But I love this bad guy here. Bruto, I think it's Bruto. This was really cool. I really liked the fighting here. The art was great. The fights were here, but everything else around the context of this issue was kind of meh. Just was kind of a lot of scene dressing, I think, and over decorating for something that maybe should have just, I don't know, feels like it just was a little convoluted, so to speak. But overall, it was fine. It was probably the weakest of the Green Lanterns that I've been reading since Jeremy Adams. But overall, it got done when it was done, and we're just going to keep moving on. And that's kind of how I look at this issue. Like, it was an okay story. I liked the bad guy. The fight was cool. That was about it. All right, let's go on as we try to figure out Hal's existential crisis. But overall, DC, even though I read a lot of books, there was nothing that really, really stood out to me as like super hot. This was the best thing I've read all week. So honestly, my top 3 for the week are actually going to be the Absolute books. I think Martian Manhunter was my favorite read, followed very closely by Absolute Batman, and then followed up by Wonder Woman. Those are my top 3. And to sum it up for top 3 of the week, I'm actually going to take Absolute Wonder Woman out, and I'm going to replace it with The Punisher. So these are my top 3 reads of the week from both Marvel and DC. Absolute Martian Manhunter, Absolute Batman, and The Punisher at number 5, Red Band. So there you have it. Actually, a Marvel making my top 3. Unfortunately, not Iron Man like I thought it would be, but it was still a good read. I just think The Punisher at number 5 was really good, and Absolute Batman and Absolute Martian Manhunter, Absolutely enjoyed those. Absolutely enjoyed those. No pun intended. For the giveaway, we are so close. Last I checked, we were at 98 subscribers. When do we get to 100? I'm going to put together a little package for someone that commented, subscribed, and commented as well. So comment down below, free 100. That will give you a giveaway. You get one giveaway per video if you want to look at it that way. And I'm adding to the package here a copy of Battleworld #1. This is actually something that I accidentally bought 2 of. In fact, if you go back and watch my Wednesday poll videos, my new comic book day haul videos, I actually got this thinking it was a facsimile of Star Brand #1. It's not. This is a variant cover from Mark Bagley, and it's of Battleworld #1. So this is a variant cover. Not many are out there, and I thought this was a facsimile when I got it. So I kept telling my comic shop, hey, where is my Battleworld #1? They said it was already delayed. So I got this, and then I didn't realize I got it, and then they didn't realize that I got it. So they were like, oh, why isn't this in our system? We'll see if we can get you another one. And they ended up getting me another one. And when I got the other one, I was like, hey, great, this is the Mark Bagley variant. And I looked at it and I said, wait a second, is this another facsimile? And I opened it up, and on the back, guys, I'm just, this is me just being humble here, humbling myself really. On the back, it actually says Battleworld. So I went and grabbed the other copy of this Star Brand facsimile with quotes. And yeah, on the back, it says Battleworld. So this is my copy. You'll get a fresh copy. So I'm adding this to the bag there. So if you did not check out Marvel's Battleworld, I hear it's good. Or if you do have it, you'll get the Mark Bagley variant. So now I'll add that to the package, in addition to a couple indies as well as a Youngblood that I have. So comment down below, free 100, FREE 100 for an entry. After we hit 100 subscribers, I will wait a week, and then we'll do the giveaway for one of those lucky winners. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Like this video if you like this video, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Adios.